It's great film.
Yeah. What if genetically modified individuals became many more? So that
engineering means at the moment.
Yeah, yes, well, the GM products. So that's, yeah, this would be in the Google, you could Google.
That's a fairly yes or no answer, isn't it, really? I think you could ask Google that.
because that it would be implying their phenotype, their genotype.
It's either knowledge or it's either this or this. Oh no, I would say this.
Would you not say that our phenotype is our environment?
But it doesn't matter what the answer to the question is. The point is whether it goes in here or here.
I would say it's not. I would not personally believe it's philosophical. I would believe it as a fact.
Again.
Then we chose what would the world be like if we get rid of the genetic imperfections, all genetic imperfections. And very simply, we kind of figured it'd be a quite boring place to live and kind of creepy.
Why do you say that?
Because you can just imagine we're all going to be the same. Where's the differences? You know, what makes us human then, if we don't have that kind of difference?
Mighty Wise ran a question like that.
Yeah.
And they started off very interesting. They started off with that. That wouldn't everyone would not be the same if we just screen out all the imperfections, you know. But as the debate went on, they reached a kind of a fairly different conclusion, which was really interesting. I won't. Oh, they thought it was that was the question that one of my groups ran with.
Yeah.
But I don't want to prejudice the discussion here by telling you where they ended up. It was really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
We went for, is it right for parents to modify their children's genetics? And it's a big thing because where do you stop, sort of? Like at the moment, obviously, that is happening within PGD or whatever, but then where do you stop? So it is a big question.
I think this brings forward something that we as teachers need to be very careful about, because you were talking from a clinician point of view, and you're talking from a personal point of view. And we'll be talking to children and we don't know their family backgrounds, we don't know what's been going on. So we might bring up issues that really cause major heartbreak for some of our students.
Yeah, it's a great point. Both Susan and I have been we've found ourselves, I think, in awkward situations where it's, you know, it's you reach a point where you think, I need to intervene now, and I need to at least I need to steer it in a certain direction. It's hard to know. Susan, you might just, we were talking this the other day about your experience where there are certain kids in the room that either have family situations where their brother, sister, or even maybe themselves have got.
Yeah, actually we had exactly this discussion in second years. They brought it up and they were just looking around the classroom, figuring out which of them would not exist if we had gone through this path. And it became quite an emotive subject then between them.
You could argue that China's kind of, I know that they didn't do it via PGD, they waited till somebody was well into their pregnancy and then decided that the girl was going to get aborted, but as a result of aborting so many girls in China, they have a very imbalanced society now, large groups of males with no females for marriage. It's caused mental health issues. There's villages with only 30-year-old lads. So there is massive knock-on social environment problems from that type of us selecting like that and not allowing nature do its random distribution of male and female. Anyway, sorry, yes, do you want me to throw it at you?
Yeah, throwable.
The other thing I think is like, how far do you go and where do you stop? I mean, it's one thing us saying things like that. I don't know who has kids who might or might not have disabilities or whatever else. If you talk maybe to somebody whose children have a really severe disability, you can kind of understand if maybe their eldest has something that's genetic, and if they could screen that out. If they have to make a choice between having no more children, or screening that out of any future babies, you can kind of understand why they might like to be able to have the ability to make that decision. But then the child himself is different. I mean, my son has ADHD, and I know my daughter very often says she wishes he hadn't, but then it would be a different child. If, you know, it wouldn't be the child. So it's a very difficult, I don't think it's a decision parents would really go into and make lightly.
It is part of the thing that
Yeah.
each child, because there are people who say nothing,
Yeah.
and there are always one or two voices, and I think everyone gets one last statement before it finishes, before the bell goes.
But they'll come to you and ask those questions and keep coming to you and asking questions.
I will definitely use this,
Mm.
and I will use it soon, probably next Friday. I'll have a whole set.
Good to hear.
And even just not as the pedagogical thing, one of the things that I would finish is you can't unknow information.
I'll use this in RSC, SPHE and in the science. It's fabulous. Thank you.
Really good to hear everyone's voice and all the rest, but sometimes, as yourself says, there is students that are sitting there and really do not want to actually voice their opinion, and they prefer just come up after class and ask you to your face rather than in front of 24 students. I definitely would use it, and for introducing genetics for definite, yeah. I have never seen that film, and I'm going home tonight to watch it on Netflix.
So yeah, definitely think it's excellent. But there's definitely some subjects that opinion doesn't matter.